excited about today because it's the beginning of the final game in both men's and women's college basketball. I just did a video on the Zoom channel. I don't know if it got out, and I often wonder how such things work, but I did a video that covered the semifinals and now the championship game previews, which are going to begin today at 3 o'clock. Today you have South Carolina taking on Iowa. Last year they played in the Final Four. I forget what the city was, but they played in the semifinals. And Iowa knocked off the heavy favorite, South Carolina, to keep them out of a rematch with LSU. LSU, on the other hand, got through to the finals and pulled away from Iowa in the end, primarily because Iowa did not have enough support for their great player, Caitlin Clark. The one player that was contributing heavily, she fouled out of the game. And when that happened, LSU just pulled away and they were doing a whole lot of talking. Well, in the regional final, Iowa avenged that loss against LSU, and LSU was mighty humble when that happened. Primarily, the difference was Caitlin Clark had some help. Those girls on the bench gave her the support she needed to enable Iowa to get back to the Final Four. Now they're going to take on South Carolina after getting by UConn. And if you think about it, the toughest road for any of these ladies has been Iowa. A lot of people complain that, hey, why is the NCAA stacking the deck against Iowa? I don't have a problem with the way that the brackets were set up because it doesn't matter who you play. Look at Purdue last year. They got knocked off by Fairleigh Dickinson. So regardless of who you play or who in your bracket, you better beat that team that's in front of you right now. And Iowa, to their credit, they made it all the way to the championship game. Again, last year they played South Carolina, and it was a great game. And it came down to a couple of things. They did something surprising that they got a lot of flack for. Caitlin pulled off shooting guard, Raven Johnson. He let Raven pretty much gave her a free rein to take the shot. And Johnson, she didn't quite know what to do with that and kind of threw her off her game a little bit. And people kind of criticized Clark for trying to show her up. I didn't think she was showing up. I thought she made a great play. What she was doing was making Raven do something. Now, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but you just take a look at what happened last night with not Purdue, but UConn and Alabama. You know, UConn is loaded. They have great shooters. They have great inside play. But what is perceived as a weakness was the freshman Castle, the guy from the Atlanta area. Well, when they left him out there immediately for the three-point shot, he took advantage of it. He just let it fly, hit the shot. He did that more than once. And because he did that, it forced Alabama to change the way that they defended UConn. And what did UConn do? They came back with Danny Hurley, and he allowed this guy Castle to get the ball on the pick and roll, and he took it to the hole. So now by doing that, it destroyed Alabama's whole concept of how to defend UConn. If it had not been for Castle, UConn would have got eliminated last night. Now, we're still talking about the South Carolina-Iowa game. If Johnson had done something similar to that, then they probably would have beat Iowa today. They were clearly the better team because they had a bigger cast of characters than what Iowa had. But when you start to throw monkey wrenches into the program like that, you have to decide on what it is that you're going to do. And Johnson didn't do it. Now, again, later on, Johnson came back and admitted to freezing up in the situation and saying that if something like that happened again, she would be ready for it. Well, today is that opportunity. How would Don Staley make the adjustment to prevent something like that from happening? Again, we saw Castle do it last night. I told you what Derrick Rose did in that championship game against Kansas. When Bill Self pulled those guards back to the foul line and Derrick Rose to shoot, he immediately put one in his eye. So when he came back the next time, Bill Self was back in his normal defense. So my question is, do I have a donation description? You can cash at me. I am $intrigue 6. $intrigue 6. So anyway, it's going to come down to what adjustments Don Staley makes. And I think that at this point, the way South Carolina, they got this massive chip on their shoulder about what happened to them last year, and they think that they pretty much going to show the world why they should be champions. And I think they're going to have to do that because they're going to dare Raven Johnson to shoot again, and she's not shooting a great percentage this year. And because she's not shooting a great percentage, she's going to have to step up much in the way that Castle did last night. Because if she doesn't step up, then that's going to cloud what the Gamecocks want to do. And I think that with Caitlin Clark having support from her teammates now, it makes all the difference in the world. So I am predicting that South Carolina going to struggle with trying to defend Clark. If they can take away Clark and make those other players beat them, that would be great. Now you saw UConn try to do that the other day. They weren't quite successful. They did it the first half, but the second half they weren't so successful. And that's how Iowa was able to come back and win that game. They were there all along. They just didn't have the production they were getting from Clark that they normally get. So if South Carolina can reduce the production of Caitlin Clark, then they might have a chance to win this game. But I don't think that's going to happen because they're going to go back and look at the film and see what UConn did and figure out maybe South Carolina may try the same thing, and they're going to be ready for it. South Carolina, on the other hand, has to figure out, well, what if Clark tries to back off Johnson again? She's not shooting a great percentage, and she comes out and she misses a couple shots in a row, she's going to lose her confidence. And it don't look too good for South Carolina to me. Now, unless they come out here and show me something I hadn't seen, I expect Iowa to knock off South Carolina, and not by just 1 or 2 points. I'm talking about 5 or 6 points, maybe more. In any case, I expect Iowa to win this championship. Now, last night, again, back to that UConn-Alabama game. Alabama got all the way to the Final Four by playing a certain way. They pushed the pedal. And when they pushed the pedal, they took it straight to the hole. They couldn't get to the hole. They would shoot the three-point shot. But what they didn't do last night, which I found surprising, they penetrated. And then when they got to the point of getting ready to lay it up, they turned around and kicked it back out. Now, I gave Pringle a lot of credit for the way he played in that regional final, but he didn't seem to have that same ferocity last night, and I was a little bit disappointed in Pringle in that. But his sidekick, Nelson came to play. Now, Klingon, he set the tone right away. Pow! First drive of the game, he slapped that thing out of there, and I think that might have changed Alabama's mind about pressing that hole. But Nelson dunked on Klingon. Let him know, look here, man, I'm going to be right here. If Pringle don't want to play, I'm definitely going to play. But that game came down to the end. Connecticut showed why they're a championship team because down the stretch they showed you that they wanted to win a championship, and they did that by hitting all of their shots. Alabama went dead down the stretch, and that was the difference in the game. So if somebody just turned the game on with 2 minutes left and you see Connecticut's up by 10 or 12 points, you think this was a blowout the whole game. It was 56 all with 12 minutes left. So it was up to Alabama to continue to play like they normally played. And had they done that, I think they could have beat UConn. But again, it came down to the adjustment that Castle made, and that put UConn in the championship game. What's up, man? Whatever you said, man. Keep streaming, don't give up. I ain't gonna give up. The reason I come on today, I had just done a live with through the Zoom, but I don't know if it's getting through or not because it don't tell me the same information that I'm getting now. So you guys tell me. I'm taking Purdue because I picked Purdue to win the championship before the tournament started, and they hadn't disappointed. A lot of people thought I was crazy because when Purdue lost to Fairleigh Dickinson last year, all the people lost confidence in them. They didn't feel like that Purdue was going to have the heart to get to where they are now. But I thought differently. Once you get beat, if you're a top team to get beat, especially by some lower team, you can bet that you got nothing else to lose. So what they did, they got Edie to come back. They came together as a team. They said, no matter what, we're not going to let no distractions get to us. Whatever style of play is necessary to make it, that is what we're going to do. And you have to give Purdue all the credit in the world because they have made it to the championship. So regardless if they win or not, they've already accomplished their goals. And I think that Purdue is going to knock off UConn. It's going to be a major battle down low between the big fellas. And I think that 7'4" wingspan is going to be a little bit too much for Klingon because Edie is an offensive guy. He's not just somebody swatting shots. Because he's a scorer, that's going to force Klingon to play defense. And it's going to come down to how the officials officiate the game. If they're calling a lot of contact, then I think Klingon might be in trouble. Because they tend to favor all the stars, and Edie has won the Player of the Year 2 years in a row, and that may play a big part in what takes place at the end of the game. But either way, it's going to be a slugfest. And I think if Purdue's cast of characters can hit those timely shots, they're going to be there, and I think they're going to win it. But if UConn, if they're still red hot down the stretch like they were last night, I don't know. It's going to come down to, at that point, can Edie hit his shots to keep his team in the game? So I don't expect a blowout either way. I think it's going to go down to the wire, and I hope to think that maybe we can get a little bit of extra ball in there, a little bit of overtime. So you guys tell me what you think. So you thought Alabama, where is what now? Kai said not. I ain't no Walmart Kai. I don't know if you're talking to me or not. Okay. Why you think Alabama lost, man? Since you with Alabama. I thought Alabama would beat UConn myself. But, they didn't play down the stretch like they played all the way through the tournament. They couldn't score to save their life last night. And that's why the score separated a little bit. They get it close, and then in the end, they let them pull away. I guess you guys talking to each other, man. But tell me what you think is going to happen in these championship games. Talk to me. Who's going to win this championship, man? Oh, he must be from Alabama. Oh. I don't know what y'all talking about, man. But anyway, what you think about the women's game? Do you follow the women's games? What y'all talking about, man? NG balls. Ayo. But again, I'm not going to stay on long. I just came on to say that why you don't watch the women, man? The women be playing some ball, man. But the guys, they got this thing called the Pivot Podcast. He ain't not as big as Shannon Sharp, but they say that the women's game is more popular than the men's game because they got these stars. I didn't agree with that. And the more I thought about it, I'm starting to think these guys are getting paid off to say certain things. Because how can you say that the way these guys are playing down the stretch, whether you knew their name or not? Because that's what they say. Well, because we know the women's names, the star players there, but we don't know the guys' names. So they think that automatically makes them better. Man, I've been watching both leagues for 40 years. And I tried to tell them, like I told them yesterday, women can't do what the guys do. They playing at a slower pace, and they can't play above the rim. Yeah, you got a few women that can get above the rim, but it ain't gonna be all the time. And I think that's what makes the difference. Because I went to FAMU. Me, basketball. I always like UNLV, man. They ain't done nothing in 20 years, so ain't no reason to even talk about them. But one day they'll come back. Why I say that? Because I feel like anybody that's won a championship, they're going to win a championship again. Might take them 30 years, 40 years, but they'll come back. Look at Kansas City Chiefs. They went 50 years between championships. Now everybody suddenly is a Kansas City Chief fan. Come on, man. Chiefs ain't been nowhere near the Super Bowl in 50 years, and you talking about that's your favorite team. I can see if you're from Kansas City, but that ain't the case. But back to what they were saying on that podcast, they saying that because they know the women's names and they don't know the men's names, that make the women's game better. And I disagree. The women games got more popular when they started allowing them to shoot that three-point shot. And now you got women watching that step-back stuff they're doing in the NBA, and they're doing the same things. They can make that shot. but you don't have the same excitement and you don't have the same parity in the women's games as you do on the men's side. Yeah, you have a couple top men's teams, but you don't have one team dominating everything. South Carolina's dominating right now, and they hadn't lost a game. They had lost 5 games in the last 6 years. So when you have a team dominating like that, where's the rest of the talent going? What they're doing is stockpiling talent. Same kind of thing that you see in high school right now. In high school, what's going on down here in Florida anyway, they ganging up. You go play with your buddy, and you guys go over here and try to win a championship, not realizing that that's not going to necessarily get you get you a scholarship, because college coaches are looking for a certain kind of athlete. If you don't fit that size chart or speed chart or whatever it is they're looking for, they don't care if you won 1,000 games in high school. It doesn't matter. It matters about that size chart. If you can't compete with college players, your high school record won't save you there. And that's what these kids don't understand. Now, those coaches understand because they want to win. Every time they can collect a group of players and then they turn around and win, that makes them look good. And because they're looking good, they think that, because the players winning, they think that's all it is to it. But nobody really cares about the wins and losses on high school. Is can you play at the next level? Just like every team, every person from Alabama, football don't go to the pros because they don't have what the pros are looking for in the next level. And it's always going to be that way. So why sell your teammates out here in Florida to go play with some guy across town and then switch and go somewhere else to play another sport? And as long as Florida is allowing that to happen, hey, I guess players are going to continue to do that. I don't know. But what's the W, man? Talking about for wins? You rather win? I want to win too, but I'd rather because I coach, I'd rather put together a team and win that way and build up a team instead of just getting an all-star team. That's not realistic. It's the same thing as the NBA All-Star games and the NFL Pro Bowl. That's not realistic, man. Yeah, it looks good for the league and people have eyeballs on it, but what's the point? Well, if you love me, show me you love me. I'm going to be coming on a lot more lives, man. But like I say, today I just put I just did a live on the Zoom where I talked about all these different things. We don't get any interaction there for whatever reason. Maybe I have Zoom set up wrong. I don't know. But I appreciate you guys support me, man. But subscribe and hit that notification bell so when I go live, I have something. I got some interviews and different things that are coming down the pipe. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, hit the notification bell and it will pop up and you will be able to keep up with me. But in the meantime, man, I got to get up out of here, man. You guys have a great day and make sure you tune in to that championship game. You got South Carolina playing Iowa in the rematch from last year's Final Four. Iowa knocked them off to get to the championship where they lost to LSU. But this time, I think Iowa's got just a little bit more in the tank than what those other teams think they have. And I think because of that, they're going to beat South Carolina. So until next time, I'm out. Sports for real.